what we're going to do today is just a full, fairly simplistic arm day. Just kind of go through the general processes, common mistakes, stuff like that, like usual. So I'm going to start out with alternate dumbbell curls. As I mentioned before, I like to drop the shoulder, get myself in the proper position, and notice that my elbow's not traveling back as I let the dumbbell come down. I'm very much concentrating on wrist to shoulder rather than dumbbell to shoulder. All right, superset, triceps. All right, so I'm gonna use this handle today. A lot of people probably don't have this, but you can get it on Prime Fitness, I believe. Would be a good place to look. They have a tons of these style of handles, and this one just kind of, it's very rotational. Get yourself in position, elbows nice and tucked in, and pulling that away. Common mistakes here a lot of people do is they don't, they stand straight up, so you can tell them in a shortened movement pattern. So you want to lean in so you get that stretch, and the elbow comes back. So if you keep it out here like this, you're going to put a lot of stress on the elbow joint itself. So pull back and press down. All right, so that's exercise number one, set number one. I'm going to do this probably 4 sets, gradually build myself up in weight. Might not be as communicative during those higher weighted sets, but you'll see me as I really concentrate on control of the weight and really concentrate on basically the not using momentum, using my strength, concentrating on that form, full range of motion, all that stuff. So today I'm going to let you in on a little bit of, instead of just demonstrating, what I would do with the heavier weights. Again, with arms, I don't really count reps. I'm just going until my body is starting to fail in the form range. So you'll see a lot of that in today's video. Okay, triceps. That's number 2. As you'll notice with me with arms, as I go through the sets, as I said, I don't count reps. I'm just going till form breaks. Like my philosophy with training of arms is I responded to volume more than weight. So I'm not really going on pushing the weight up. I'm big on feeling every single rep, feeling every single stretch, controlling the weight, and trying to get as much out of every single rep as I possibly can. Achieving essentially at the end of every set, I have more blood in the muscle, so I'm feeling the pump a little bit more every single time I do a set. So when I finish, I need to feel it. If I don't, you'll see me quickly adjust, either changing the exercise that I'm doing or changing the angle, trying to change something to achieve that pump better, and basically getting more out of the set than what I was in the previous set that I did. So one thing that I don't think I've mentioned in other videos, but is when you get to the point where you think you're gonna fail, just stop and take a couple of breaths, because realistically you're failing because a lot of people hold the breath, trying to get through those last few, which builds up the lactic acid in the muscle. Muscle starts to fail. So if you stop just for like 5 seconds, take a few good breaths, get your oxygen pumping again, you might get 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 more reps. You may even get 2 more, but 2 more is better than no more. So that's the big thing that I do a lot when I'm training, especially if I'm trying to upscale my training or push myself beyond that point of failure. Is once I feel failure coming, I'll stop, take a couple breaths, and then I'll continue after I get the oxygen in my blood again. And you might surprise yourself. Like one day in leg press, I pumped off another 15 when I thought like my knees were shaking and everything. I just took probably a good 5 breaths and I pumped out another 15. So your muscles can take the punishment. You just need to learn how to breathe better. So if I can give people one really, really good tip, that would be one. All right, so we're on exercise number 2, superset. Starting off with cable easy bar curls. Then we're gonna do a same bar, same pulley, just up it. We're gonna do overhead for triceps. So same as always, you're leaning back, you're letting that cable to your shoulder be a straight line, full stretch on the arm, driving that wrist up the shoulder. Big thing is, don't use your torso. So if you're doing this, don't start swinging. Like, control on the way up and the way down. Don't just up and then let it go. Because in doing so, technically you're only doing half the reps. And if you're using momentum, again, you're realistically only doing half, maybe a third of the rep you're using your muscle to do what you're trying to achieve. So calm yourself down, put the weight down, and do it properly. So the big thing what you're doing when you're doing overhead is you're trying to achieve that long head of the tricep to be engaged. So as everybody knows, the long head is what gives you that girth and that underneath hanging muscle to the arm. So a big thing is keep yourself, once you get that proper stretch, like bring it back, feel the stretch, and you stay there. Elbows don't move. So one big thing you have to remember about a long head tricep is when you're doing it, that is the one part of the tricep that is highly up for injury. So most tears that happens in the tricep area is usually the long head leading into the rear delt or the rear delt. That's where most of the kind of tears you'll see in like a shoulder rotator cuff injury, a rotator cuff tear. If it's in the back, it's usually the long head of the rear delt most of the time. And that's from doing heavy movements above the head, over the head, stuff like that, which again gives you that great looking arm, gives you that great big massive tricep, which everyone's trying to achieve. When they put that arm up for the front double bicep or try to flex their arm, that's what they want. They want that big hanging girth of a muscle, because that's what makes the arm look big, is your tricep. The bicep is really just peak, but you always got to maintain form, and that's where most of the injuries happen, unfortunately, is people just get into that. I want more weight, and then if your body can't sustain that weight, it'll start moving that elbow down. And that's, I mentioned it before, you're clipping yourself from the back of the head with the cable, or if you don't do that and don't feel the cable, a big thing is you're putting a lot of pressure on that joint and the rotator cuff. So one thing you don't want to do is start manipulating your form just to achieve a heavier lift. And that's where that meandering road of injury, not injury, that you're going to start walking down. So my recommendation is just don't. Strength will come over time, the muscle will come over time. Just build the form up. So that's paramount. That is exactly what you're doing, and everything's perfect. So sets and reps, you're looking at 3 to 4 sets. Reps, I just go until I fail. So again, with arms, I just go until failure. I don't really count reps. But as you notice, if you were watching in that last tricep overhead press, currently right now I'm having a little bit of tendon ligament issues. It's just sore. I'm getting old. I'm 44. Years and years of abuse. So what I did on that set, as I mentioned earlier in the video, when I feel something's not working, I'm not getting a pump, immediately what I did is I lowered the weight on that exercise, and I went until I felt I was going to fail. I held the stretch for about 8 seconds, and then I tried to pump out as many as I could until I felt that the failure point was coming again. And then I stopped the set. So in the third set, I'll go for another stretch and then another round. So each set, I'm adding on a stretch and a round, just to ensure that I'm pushing myself beyond the failure point, and I'm not putting adverse pressure on my ligaments and tendons, where right now they're a bit bothersome for me. So for all the older gentlemen out there, or ladies that are having issues with their tendons and their lifts, there's a good kind of idea, thought process to go through is just lower the weight, but up the reps. And you get to the point where you're gonna fail, take those couple seconds, have the stretch, get a couple breaths of oxygen in, go for another round. Each set, add another round. So for my third set, I'll be doing 3 rounds of failure, so in one set. So all that's doing is increasing the load that the muscle's taking and being put through. But in essence, it's giving yourself that way bigger pump, but with minimal tension on the tendons and ligaments. All right, everybody, so we're moving on to exercise or superset number 3. I'm gonna do 1 arm preacher curl, 21s, and then I'm moving on to high cable cross face extensions, and overhand grip, not underhand grip. So the big thing on this one is really concentrating the peak for the preacher, and for the cross face where it's overhand, you really want to concentrate on that stretch right down the middle of the tricep. You are going to feel it in the long head, especially where you get that full stretch kind of up high predominantly, but I really want you to concentrate on that stretch on every single rep. So get in there, hold that stretch, explode, really squeeze it out. Same on this, full stretch, full squeeze on the full range part of it. So when you're doing the 7 lower, concentrate on the stretch, 7 upper, concentrate on the squeeze, and then both on the full. So let's get into it. So as you can notice, I have my arm straight down, not cocked off to the side. The full stretch, driving with that wrist, coming up halfway. 2. All right, on the upper, go down half. You're driving that inner part of that wrist up to the ear. All right, now full. All the way down, full stretch. All the way up, full squeeze. 2. Overhand grip. Basically the back of your hand is really, really close to your ear. Elbows nice and high. You can have your hand here as like a kind of a stabilizer. You can have your hand here so it doesn't don't start using momentum. But the big thing is feel that stretch and extend to full flex. If you feel that the cable's cracking in the ear, just take 1 step away from the cable, and that won't. I always tell people get into the stretch first. So get into a position that you feel a stretch up the tricep. Elbows here. So once you're here, you're stuck. So this doesn't move. So now, get myself situated in. There it is. Here we go. So you're only breaking at the elbow. Full stretch, full flex. Set number one, as you noticed on Preacher, when I got to the full, on my right hand, I went up to like 15 or 16. On my left, I went up to like 10 or 12, 11 or something like that. So obviously that weight's a little bit light for me. So I'm gonna increase the weight a bit, not much. And my goal is to get to 7, 7, 7, but I'm failing at each. When I get to 7, I'm failing. 7, I'm failing. 7, and I'm failing. So instead of me just pumping it out, I'm just gonna increase the weight a little bit. Same with the crossface. I found myself getting way above that 15 rep range. So I'm gonna increase it up 10 and we'll see how the next set goes. Another big thing that my philosophy, and I know it's not a lot of everybody else's, but when I start an arm day, I'm never gonna start a tricep workout with an overhead. Reason is, a lot of the young people, yes, your tendons and joints are great. You guys can hammer them and you're not gonna feel any pain. But as you age, your tendons and joints are not gonna be up for taking that pressure right off the get-go. So I'm gonna start more with a push down, overhand and or underhand. But it's basically the thought process of lubricating the joints. Same as if on my leg days, I start with leg extensions and leg curls. You're lubricating the joints. You're not jumping right into squats because it's dumb, really. Like, hate to say the word, but it is. It's just, you're putting yourself in so bad a risk of injury and tearing something that's gonna impede you from getting your goal physique, then it's trying to build a bigger muscle. So I always think of both sides of basically the tape, or both sides of a double-edged sword. You wanna get the best out of it, but again, you wanna not injure yourself. So start slow, start with feeder sets, start with warming the joint up, start with this, and then once you're warmed up, yeah man, jump into the overheads, jump into the squats, jump into all these heavier lifts. But right off the get, take it from a man who's been around a long time, and talk to any pro bodybuilder, they're all gonna tell you the same thing. You're risking a lot of injury, and at the end of the day, it's not helping you. So just don't, really. All right, so we're moving on to our last superset, or basically last combination of exercises. I'm gonna do single arm bicep curl to the head, and then I'm gonna do single arm underhanded extension. Finishing off with this is basically I'm finishing off with shapers. So I'm really not gonna concentrate on going too heavy. I'm concentrating on full stretch, full squeeze on every single one. So that's why I like this particular exercise, because right off the get, me just standing here, I feel a stretch in my bicep. And then full squeeze to the head. Big thing on a lot of people do is they drop the elbow or move the elbow a bit. As soon as you're in spot, it doesn't move. You're just breaking at the elbow. So you're just bringing that hand in and extending. So there's no movement at all. Your torso doesn't move, nothing moves. Control the weight there and back, and just go until you can't. All right, right into underhand. Big thing here is you get into that position where you feel the stretch and everything, again, nothing moves. So once you lock your torso in place, that's it. The only thing you're doing is breaking at the elbow, coming down, you're holding that stretch for a couple seconds. All right, everybody. So that's it for today. It's basically a quick and easy arm day, my style. So I'm more so went over what you can physically see that I do. So when I start to increase the weight, I don't cheat. I'll take that extra second. I'll get some more breaths in to kind of continue on the set. If I notice anything wrong, so my form's off, my ligaments are screaming, I'll lower the weight and I'll adjust the protocol of the set. So instead of doing sets of 8 to 10 or 12 to 15, I'll adjust it to failure, hold a stretch, failure, hold a stretch, failure, within the set. So there's lots of ways to manipulate things to benefit yourself. It doesn't all have to revolve around lifting heavier weight. So the big thing I like to tell people is read your body. So when you read your body, and what I mean by reading your body is if you come into the gym and all of a sudden what you lift last week feels extremely heavy this week and your joints are just, they're not enjoying it, they're screaming at you, you can lower the weight, adjust the protocol, or you can change the exercise. So it doesn't mean your day has to be ruined because your joints aren't feeling it today, or you have to do something out of the norm. You can still continue with your workout, but just lighten up the weight. Your body's telling you it needs a break, it needs to rest. So take that information and adjust your workout, but you still put you can still put pressure on the muscle, so for it to progress and still grow, without putting adverse effects on the ligaments and tendons, without risking injury. So that's our biggest, that's the one thing you got to look at with every exercise you're doing is, I don't want to risk injury, but I want to push myself as far as I can to make the muscle grow. So, and there's thousands of protocols. This is the one thing I do push. There's so many protocols and procedures and theories out there that help a person lift or attain the body that they're trying to. But each and every day may be different for you as a person. So one day my body reacts to heavy, lower rep, but the next day it reacts to volume, higher rep, or like medium weight and just doing drop sets or supersets or triple sets. Like, that's the thing, you got to change up your workouts. You don't have to change up the exercise per se, but change up your theories, your protocols, what you're doing, the angles that you're doing it on. And that alone is gonna put yourself in that atmosphere of growth. So anyways, take that information in, like, subscribe. Guys, continue on the channel. I'm really thankful for all the comments that I'm getting on the channel. It really shows that you guys are actually watching the videos and taking in the information I'm giving you. And that's my whole point. That's the point of me doing this channel, is to give back. And I want you guys to learn. So if you want something, please ask. And I have no problem giving you the information. So peace out. See you next time.